You're joining the second leg of our Roundtable Roadshow of hospitality discussions in Northampton at Whittlebury Park, where we explore the limits of technology and drawing the line for success in human touch hospitality. We'll hear from experts in their fields across marketing, F&B, guest communications and space, before we delve into conversations on the floor with hoteliers who attended the event. Our host Bradley Spillman explains his approach to digital marketing and how they develop their website for guest acquisition. For more learnings, follow the roadshow on Hoteliers A Voice as we go across the country, starting in New Forest, Cornwall and Northampton. I'm your host, Ryan Haynes. Let's get on with the show.
Hoteliers Voice. Exploring opportunity in hospitality with Ryan Haynes. Hear from the people making a difference. From revenue to operations, marketing to digitalization. Learn the thinking behind their decisions.
Thank you, Bradley, again for hosting us here. What was it that got you interested in what we were doing with the Roundtable Roadshow and the podcast?
Thanks, Ryan. I think for me personally, it's building that network. We know that the landscape of hospitality and especially marketing is forever changing. It's hard to keep up to date these days. So I think having people to talk to about what is going on, how are they approaching things, where are they struggling, I think that's really nice. I think for us, we struggle to talk about like AI, for example, and how to register on Gemini, how to be more like personalized touches to our guests. And it's nice to talk to other people in those situations and then those roles on how they are approaching it, where their struggles, where are they kind of like selling. It's nice to have that kind of network.
Where do you seek information at the moment? Where do you try to get that knowledge and experience from?
We've got some good agency networks around us. We work with the likes of Up Hotel, for example, to work on the website, and they've got a lot of like expertise, knowledge about what's going on in the digital landscape, for example. And I would say our internal staff as well. We're a vast estate. We've got golf, a spa, conference and events as examples, and they're all experts in their fields, and they tell us what is going on in their kind of own worlds and what's coming up and where they're seeing our competitors excelling, and we take that on board. I think one of the struggles we find is that because we're such a vast estate and there's loads of things going on every single day, it's just finding out what is going on and telling them how they can actually utilize marketing. But I'd say our network around the marketing team ourselves is really strong. Got a lot of like experts in their own fields.
Do you have other hoteliers that you tend to go, okay, yes, or is that reason why that having a network like this is so important?
I think networks like this is really important. You build that like foundation, you build the trust and relationships with other hoteliers and hospitality. And I was saying earlier that the hospitality landscape is a passion itself. I went out of hospitality for a few years. I worked with different industries and I came back because I love the hospitality landscape. There's a lot of passion there. I think every day's a different day. Every day you've got different projects going on. Something's always happening. Every guest is different as well, and their story is different. And I just love that about the hospitality landscape.
Now, Whittlebury's gone through a bit of a transition itself over the last few years. You were explaining to me yesterday that it was bought by the golf course. Is that right?
Yeah, it used to be it's now family-run business. It always has been, but it used to be two separate businesses. So Whittlebury Park used to be just a golf course along across the road, and then the Whittlebury Hall Hotel and Spa used to be owned by a bank. And then the family bought out the hotel and spa back in 2016, I believe. And now it's all family run. And I think you get that feel here when you talk to the staff and how we approach ourselves to the guests, for example, is all we try to pride ourselves on that family feel. And we know like every guest has got their own like story and their own passion and family behind them. So it's communicating to that aspect of the guests.
And then it's about that, how you adapt and you evolve from that point forward. So as a hotel, how are you looking at evolving and connecting with different audiences?
I think it's all personalisation these days. No one wants the same generic message kind of going out. What we're trying to achieve is individual messages to all our guests. If you came here for an anniversary, we should be saying in a year's time, happy anniversary, we'd love to have you back. You tried the chocolate cake last year. We've got a new recipe coming out. It's things like those small little details of why they come to stay at Whittlebury Park, where we should be kind of like targeting and amplifying. And I think that's one of the things we kind of pride ourselves on as well. When guests come through our door, we do try to make an effort of, why are you here? Is it anniversary? Oh, here's a free glass of Prosecco and some balloons in your room, for example.
So we've got David Ohanjanian from Up Hotel Agency. Now, actually, you and I are here because of your clients, Bradley, who you managed to get on stage for me at the Independent Hotel Show a couple of years ago. So what work have you been doing with them here?
So we were contacted to do a new website for the Whittlebury, long overdue. Bradley had not long been in the business as well and produced a fantastic brief for us. So he started off on a very strong footing. I think it was probably about 30 pages, the briefing document, more or less. But it's amazing to have a client that actually really thinks about what they want to achieve and has gone through that thought process, because it helps us to achieve that. And I think that's one of the things that I think is real key for the success of most hotels is you can get data, you can get all of this information, you can work with agencies, you can make a design that looks pretty, but does it solve anything? And what Bradley did and Whittlebury did is said, what do we want to achieve as part of our refresh? What goals have we got? And then, as I was saying earlier, that if you know what success looks like, then we can assess whether what we've done has been successful.
What is it from a hotel perspective being visible online is so essential today from a design perspective, but also making sure that you appear in the results?
Yeah, so the hotel website is two things. It's a brand tool. It has to essentially be the window to the hotel and services that are relevant, but it is also an e-commerce tool. So it's balancing the two together. And when we look at the Whittlebury, I just pulled from their brief, they wanted to really impact their SEO, make changes that would get them seen more, increase their market share, increase their revenue, and better experience for visitors, including mobile visitors. So I'd love to release a few stats of us, Bradley's permission, if that's cool, because I actually got really excited when I looked at this. So we're looking at, they launched in end of April last year. So I've took May to December. Mm-hmm. Year on year versus 24 versus 25. And they had a phenomenal 1,500% increase in their organic visits to the site.
Wow.
And there's no paid search influence. In fact, they dropped paid search. It's 95% less paid search to their site. They're talking about market share, 3 times as many as much traffic to their site, 165% new users. Their revenue increased by nearly 40%, which was about 400k. And for better experience, they got 125% more mobile users and also 170% more people coming to the spa-related content. So incredible results, really. But that all came from having a very focused brief and a great idea of what they wanted to do with the website. So both making it look great, making it easy to access for people with various devices, but also structuring the content so it would be picked up by search engines and now AI engines.
Paid for itself then in that case. Can I just actually ask one question to Bradley, because just talk to us about building that brief, because he liked it. What was in that brief to make an agency like what you're asking for?
I'm very detailed about how I kind of approach a project, especially when a website, the previous website, we didn't have the flexibility to do what we wanted. It was all kind of like, it's black and white. I couldn't upload a logo, for example, or I couldn't change how our menu was structured. It was all very rigid. So what we wanted with the new website was the flexibility to do anything we wanted. And one of the struggles we had was a guest was taking anywhere between 7 to 8 actions, whether that's clicking a button or visiting another page or filling out a form before they actually made a conversion. And one of the main goals was actually reducing that journey. I was talking to Eli earlier about how attention spans are so much shorter these days. No one wants to watch a 2-hour film anymore. Everyone wants to go watch a 7-second TikTok. And what we wanted to, when we reduce that journey, short and sweet, it's just going to be to the point, clear call to action. The guest knows what they're clicking on and where they're going, and then they get to their conversions or piece of relevant information they're looking for so much quicker. And that's what we found when we kind of like shortened that journey and made it 30 seconds rather than 5 to 10 minutes long instead.
Obviously, you've looked at the website previously and those tactics. What about sort of making sure you do get that direct booking over and above it going to a third party?
Yeah. So I suppose that's our expertise. And we work with a lot of agencies like David and the marketing agencies, design agencies. But we would, I suppose, there's a couple of things with our booking engine and what people need to look out for when they're, I suppose, looking at a provider, and also, what they need to achieve from their booking journey for their guest. So I suppose first of all is that we embed fully into a site. So when you come into a website, you need to make sure that that booking engine sits within the site so that it feels like it's part of the website. So when you click book now for whatever, through an offer, through the main book now, that it stays in the same URL of the site. So it doesn't feel like a third party. The look and feel, the branding, everything. So it shouldn't appear like a third party. It should feel like it's your booking engine. So that's the first thing. And that's one thing that we would do very well. Then the other thing is that it needs to be mobile first. So you can have a beautiful website designed and you come in and then you find this like booking engine that you just can't navigate, and you need to have, so that whatever device you enter that process in, you should be able to navigate it fully on whatever, say if it's a mobile, if it's a desktop, if it's an Apple TV, it should be adapting to that technology. So, and then I suppose it's really what we find is the personalizing of that journey. So it's say not only the branding part, but if I'm landing in from a piece of marketing from an Instagram, I should be landing directly into an offer. I shouldn't have to navigate through a whole book now process. I should be able to go from one piece of marketing directly into, so if it's a family offer, I should be going directly into that family offer. Then the rooms that are associated with that family offer should be family rooms. The upgrade should be to an upgrade to a family room. It should be, the extras should be personalized to that. So it should be, family movie pack. It should be a family, afternoon activity. What are they booking? Are they booking double rooms? Are they booking family package? Are they booking, what are they actually booking? And then make sure that that is what you're marketing to them. So using every piece of data from your business, even as a new hotel, you can start to do this. You can kind of say, you can go out the first 3 months, what actually booked at us? When did they book? What did they book? What extras did they buy? All of that data should be at your fingertips, and that's what our booking engine does. We have a huge business intelligence behind it, and it's about using that data then to inform proper decision making.
Now over to Prem from Biteluxe, really looking at the guest engagement factor. So they're on site again. So how are we connecting with guests really in a way that's going to be effective for the demographic of the hotel?
Yeah, sure. So I think traditionally hotels have had quite a hard time developing a relationship with the guests before they arrive at the hotel. And I think part of the reason why is the challenge associated with the traditional communication channels. So first one's email. It's a great bulk medium. It's great for transactional communication, so things like invoices, receipts, and so on, but not so much for building rapport. And the other channel that hotels have relied on a lot is the pre-arrival call, so calling the guests before they arrive, right, and trying to find out what's going to make their stay particularly special. The increasing challenges of the pre-arrival call is, firstly, I think guests and consumers generally are becoming less and less likely to want to answer calls from unknown numbers, number one. And then number two, you've got this small window of opportunity, if they do answer the call, to have the guest open up and talk about the kind of experience, the ideal experience they want to have at the hotel. And then lastly, that's even if you catch them, the missed call rate seems to be increasing year on year. So hotels now have this wonderful superpower where they can connect with guests directly via instant messaging channels like WhatsApp, which actually now we're at a stage where I'd say it transcends demographics, right? Whether you're 20 years old or 15 or 70, you're going to be on WhatsApp. And because it's conversational, hotels now have this wonderful opportunity to get all the information they need from the guests before they arrive to understand what's going to make their stay particularly special. So it also helps that there's a strong correlation between increasing guest satisfaction and increasing upsells. So you finding out about guests before they arrive and contextually offering a table booking because it's their birthday, or a thoughtful room upgrade, or offering them champagne upon arrival because they're staying for an anniversary.
Over now, we're going to look at really what can be done when the guests are on site with Alessandra Leoni from Focus on Hospitality. What are some of the ways that technology is now being used and to get as much information and to engage with the guest?
Well, over the year, technology has certainly changed. Unfortunately, we all know direct bookings are the best, etc., which have been for years very hard to achieve because OTAs are always very powerful with the big marketing engine and all the marketing money that they get from the commission that we've all paid for years. And that's probably after payroll the biggest impact on your P&Ls. So achieving that information from the guest so we can personalize that experience prior to arrivals in stay is very vital. And so how do we get that information? We don't get them from the OTAs anymore like we used to back in my days when I was a lot younger, but we definitely can get it once the guest arrives. And how we do it through, I checked in last night, I was asked for putting my name and email address. So obviously then I get your personalized communication. So making sure that we bring that guest along your journey from the point they enter your doors is extremely valuable because you can convert them into your loyalty scheme, into your brand. And then if they have a great experience, then they can advocate for your brand and support your strategy for direct bookings, better communication, return guests, and so much more. So technology has become more and more part of that journey from the guest. We're seeing, David was saying, how my searches as a guest has changed and now utilize technology. And there is nothing worse to have access to all this technology personally. And then you get to your dream holiday, your dream break, your vacation. And then you are pushed back into a few years back because the technology doesn't allow to use your personal tech bubble into the building. Great experience here. Arrived, I used all my things, and it helps and supports the hotel story, helps and supports the communication that you want to have, so you can allow all the other platform to access that data to continue being used for achieving the results that you need and support your strategy. If we don't get it, then how can it be part of Bradley's cons or Sharon's journey or anything? It's not data for the sake of data. You need the data to have an action that supports your end goal and your KPIs and your revenue delivery.
So from digital to IT, I want to look at F&B quickly with Scot. Now, that's also been changing quite a bit. How can hotels look at redefining the F&B potentially to put themselves on the map?
What we're seeing now is traditionally it's always been we need to have a restaurant and that restaurant needs to do something for everything, needs to have a nice dinner, but we need to do a great breakfast, conference lunch, etc. We probably need to do afternoon tea, especially in a country setting, but we need a lounge of some sort, and then we need a bar. And it's kind of been that model that's been going out throughout stereotypically. What we're seeing now is there's a lot more openness to diversifying what that looks like. So yes, we still need that restaurant, but maybe that restaurant at dinner can have a different identity to the daytime because it's serving different purposes. Maybe in city centre hotels, we've got that secondary breakfast option. So we're going with a coffee concession, not a lounge. The bar is the bar, and yes, it needs to have a bit of an identity, but that's the one thing that's kind of stayed the same. But we're seeing a lot more curation that goes into building F&B spaces around city centre hotels and resorts, especially. We're working with a lot of resorts at the minute, one in particular in Surrey, where we've done that exact thing. The restaurant runs as the restaurant for breakfast and lunch, and then it goes into a brand for dinner, and it's a dinner-only restaurant that has a different identity that sits there and talks to its own market, and it's got a very defined demographic that goes with it. And with that, what we're hoping is it's not just a hotel restaurant that serves hotel guests, it's bringing in members that sit there and it's bringing in local community. And the strategy around that restaurant is very much designed around how we sit it as an independent restaurant that talks for itself. So that's what we're seeing, is that curation and diversification is becoming much more bold and open.
We're going to be talking to Paul Wells of Studio Moren, looking at spatial awareness. When do you notice, or when you're having conversations with your customers, that they identify that there's a problem with the space? It's not fit for purpose anymore?
So a lot of our hotels, particularly at the minute, as we all know, the market's not terribly strong for new build operations. So we're looking at a lot of refurbishments, we're looking at a lot of repositioning of assets. And a lot of that is driven by how can we make hotels be more marketable and more income generating. So obviously the days of very large lobby spaces that are not income generating are past. We need to think about how we can improve potentially the F&B. We're working alongside Scot on that, and how hotels can just flow better and attract external people to use them alongside guests. I think we've been having a lot of conversations today about the number of meeting rooms here, for example. Obviously these are not people that are just staying at the hotel. These are people that are coming in for days. We look at restaurants and spas also as additional spaces where you would come as a day guest rather than potentially an overnight guest. But actually, what I do as an architect, we have an interior design arm as well, which I'm not directly part of. You don't want me designing your interior design. But as an architect, we understand the operations of a hotel. So we understand how the guest experience can be affected by a misaligned back of house experience, shall we call it. So we specialize in designing spaces which operate well and function well, and of course look very pretty. Unfortunately, when you get the awards season, it's always about how nice it looks. It's never about how well a hotel operates. But actually, if you don't get the operations right, it doesn't matter what the front looks, it will never work. So as architects, we want to design spaces which really contribute to the marketing and the viability of the hotel alongside having a nice space to enjoy and attract people into.
There's a lot of great ideas, I think, that I would love to hear what's happening at your hotels and some of the hotels that you might know and have worked with. So what are you doing to market? What are you doing to attract new customers? What are your challenges in and around that? What questions do you let that lies open? Are there any projects you're also working on yourselves at the moment where, you're seeing there's a gap or a struggle?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time talking about this, like, who is your guest and what do they want from the stay? Craig was saying the demographic that he has in his hotel are just not adopters of tech. So how does he find the personalization in different ways to be able to still deliver what they want from an experience?
And then we were getting a lot of feedback, particularly from corporates in the entertainment industry, that we want room service, we want in-room dining option. So we worked with a third party where there's a QR code in the room and guests can order from a myriad of local restaurants, takeaways, really good quality stuff. And it really hasn't taken off. We basically get like a 20% cut. And it's really minor. It hasn't taken off. And when we've asked for feedback about it, it was a bit like, oh, well, no, I just want to look at a menu, like a physical menu. And we don't have the capacity to deliver that. So we now got to think of a new way of trying to do it. So the solutions are there, but for our guests, it just didn't really work.
Well, we're talking about personalization, how knowing the guest and what the guest wants to receive, how different channels work differently with different audiences, and how technology can support that journey. So very interesting to see how the different outlets here call for a different channel and a different way of interacting, and how still very important is to deliver the hospitality and the recognition of the guest.
Yeah, we were talking about tone of voice and the different kind of messaging we put on these different channels. We know golfers don't use TikTok, but spa and hotel guests do. They want to do that kind of like initial research to know what the hotel is like, and it's also creating that kind of like human element through that channel. So I think it's important to identify which channel your audiences use, and then also base the tone of voice on. The way we do that is by talking to the heads of departments on that relevant department.
Well, we had two very different challenges with two hotels, but the consistent thing that was a struggle across the both was difficulties with owners understanding, because I think sometimes when we talk about these technology changes or things to do, we don't necessarily consider the different people that we need to convince that these things are the right things to do. So it was very interesting. We had one example with Dumbledon Hall closed for a while, renovated, new owner, opening, and then there's also a level of decision paralysis because there's so much to decide all at once. We're talking about the nuances of personalization or what to do in this scenario, that scenario. You're talking about which perfumes to put in your room or which paint color to use.
We talked an awful lot about team welfare, and we really need to be looking after our people. David was talking about making sure the team have work-life balance. We've all talked about the importance of people having the space, what the guys were saying about back-of-house areas, making sure that the team have space to work and space to rest.
And I'm a silver award holder for the hotel for the Armed Forces Covenant, and we support the reservists, and also they support me. And that has really shown dividends, because some people who are coming to me, who are coming out of the forces, who are looking for work, they have a different ethic to the kind of employment pool that we have, more old school in many ways, and you have to sort of adapt them. But that has been the biggest success, I would say, that I've had in the last couple of years.
But if I come back to you then, Joe, today, what have you got from this roundtable? What one particular thing are you taking away with you?
It's been really great to hear lots of different views, especially from different types of businesses, from hotels and from suppliers and different people who work alongside the industry. Some of the things I think I've probably got from today is that we all have some of the same challenges, and it's how we approach those and what you can do to enable yourselves. Technology is great. There is some fantastic technology out there, but making sure that we've got the right technology to actually deliver the guest experience, but also the team experience.
Thanks to you all, including my experts who've been part of today, and our sponsors, Focus on Hospitality, Netaffinity, Up Hotel Agency, Studio Moren, Biteluxe, and Auden Hospitality.